So, is it even possible to start a farm with just $200, $300? Is it possible at all? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you and telling you that it's possible, but that's not all. I'm also going to be sharing with you how exactly you can start a poultry farm and actually grow it and become great with just $200, $300. So if that's you and that's what you want to do, stick around right through to the very end. I'm Dr. Daniel, a retired medical doctor who is very passionate about farming, and if this is your very first time on the channel, you're in the right place. On this channel, I talk about farming in general, how to start and build and scale a successful poultry farm without stress, without disturbances. Of course, you do have disturbances, but you want to learn how to deal with them and how to actually grow and be successful. This is the right place. So if you want to be that person, understand about goats, about sheep, about cattle, a little bit about growing crops, honestly, you don't do too much of that, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell. That way you never miss out on an upload. So I get a lot of people approaching me and they're like, hey doc, the honest truth is I don't have $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 to start a farm like you did. How do I start and scale a profitable poultry farm? Is it even possible for me who has $200, $300, sometimes even less than $200, $150? How do I actually start a farm that I can earn money from and probably scale it later on? Well guys, I want to show you guys and tell you guys that it is possible. You see, the truth is that farming is a capital intensive thing. It requires quite an amount of money, it requires land, it requires a lot of things for you to scale. But a while back, our parents and our grandparents never required a lot of money to start farms. Now, of course, they were not doing it in a technical aspect, in that they didn't have to buy vaccines, they didn't have to buy commercial poultry feed, they didn't have to buy medicines and antibiotics, so it was quite cheaper for them, but they still managed to do farming. Now, of course, we still do have these things to deal with, but for you as a farmer, for example, as a poultry farmer, for me, medicines and vaccines are still a very small, insignificant aspect of what it takes to actually grow and scale a farm. So what are you mainly going to be spending money on? And how can you bring the cost down? And how can you actually start and grow? That's where we're going to start from. Now, the first thing you need to understand is the mentality. You need to have the right mentality. You need to understand that someone who doesn't have a lot of money doesn't deal like someone who has a lot of money. When I was starting out, personally, I didn't have a lot of money. Like I told you guys, for me it was maybe $3,000, but I started with $3,000. That's when I built the house, then added a bit more money and got in the birds. But that was 800 birds that I started with. For a lot of people, that's still quite a huge number of birds. Now, for you, you're going to probably start with much less birds. If you only have $300, that's less than 10 times what I started with. You're going to start with less birds, but in addition to that, you're going to be creative. You're going to become a genius. You're going to have to act as a genius. You're not going to have to act like everyone else, because like I've told you, you can't act like a rich person. You're going to have to make shortcuts. But the most important thing you're going to have to build is to understand that you're going to have to be resourceful. You're going to have to be strong. You're going to have to be in the correct frame of mind. You're going to have to build the correct mentality and understand that it's probably going to take you a much longer time than it took someone else. That's number one. So the mindset is very important. But the second bit about the mindset is that you're going to have to be ready to hustle and be stronger than the usual person, because like I've said, it's going to come with challenges, but you're going to have to be creative. So the mindset is very important when you're getting into this. Very, very important. Go into it knowing that it's not going to come easy, but you're going to have to, come up with other ideas. Now, the second thing we're going to talk about is resourcefulness. You're going to have to be creative. Very creative. You're going to have to be very creative, and you're going to have to put in a lot of hard work. Be creative and put in a lot of hard work. Because like I've said, for me, when I was starting out, I didn't have the money and I had to be very creative, very, very creative. For example, the kinds of drinkers that I was using on the farm then. Currently, I do have, a bit automated drinkers. Water just comes from a tank. It comes down the bell drinkers. No one has to, go and fill in. Those days, I had drinkers where I had cut jerry cans, but I also made them a bit semi-automated, I would say. I think I've actually made a whole video about that system of drinkers. I leave a link to that video right here, that system that I used when I was starting out. I had to get creative with it so that I'm not at the point where I have to consistently keep putting water, like pouring water, because then the guys would mess it up. You know, they don't know how to deal with the water and, you know, consistently ensure that there is water. But also, I don't have the money to get the automated dritters. So I had to come up with that creative system. So you're going to have to be very creative. Then the next thing we're going to now talk about is the chicken house. Yeah, because guys, you're talking about poultry. Meanwhile, you can literally use the same principles to go into cattle, goats and sheep, you know, piggery, rabbits and all these things. But in specificity for this, we're talking about chickens because honestly speaking, you know, if you're going to be buying cattle, for example, one cow will cost you $300. So maybe if you do have land somewhere, you buy one cow, $300, you've already started, yeah? But we're talking about chickens over here, yeah? Now, the reason we're talking about chickens is because chickens have, you know, a high turnover, you know, and what that means is that you can do one cycle, get profit out of it, and go into the next cycle really quickly, yeah? So that's why I think, you know, poultry is a great thing to start with. Now, poultry, of course, has a bit higher risk compared to other things, but if you just learn how to do it and understand how to raise the birds and all those things, which you can actually do, you know, by joining the Farm Up Academy. I leave a link to the Farm Up Academy in the description of this video. You can go check it out. But with poultry, you can learn things really quickly, go through the cycles really quickly, and you can get money coming in really quickly, yeah? The first thing that you're going to need is a chicken house and land, yeah? And in all honesty, this is going to be like that point where you're going to be the most creative. Now, certainly, you're not going to use your money to start a poultry farm with $300 and expect to build a chicken house and also buy land. So what are you going to do? Yeah, you're going to do exactly what I did when it does come to the land. I didn't have land, but my dad had land. So my dad had land and I wasn't working so far away. I was probably working like, you know, maybe 30 kilometers away from the farm, maybe less than that, 28 kilometers away from the farm. And so what I did at that time is that I was like, okay, I'm not so far away. How about I go and ask my dad that can I use a section of his land? Yeah. So that's it. If you know anyone who has land, but not only has land, but has an abandoned house, yeah? So it doesn't need to be a chicken house. So if you know anyone who has an abandoned chicken house, that's going to be your first measure, yeah? That's the first person you're going to contact. But if they don't even have an abandoned chicken house, but they have an abandoned house, houses usually have windows, yeah? Now, of course, chickens need great aeration. But if you don't have great aeration, some aeration is better than no aeration at all, yeah? So you're going to have to start with little aeration. So an abandoned house, yeah, maybe, you know, someone started building a structure and maybe it was supposed to be a rental or it was supposed to be their home, but they haven't completed it. They have decided to leave it there while they look for money to finish the structure. Or you're in a village somewhere, you know someone who has built a house with mud and water, yeah? Meanwhile, if you're in a village like me right here and maybe your parents have land somewhere, you don't need money to build a house with mud and water. You just need sticks, yeah? So just gather sticks and then you get someone to just put mud together and they can build a house for you. Now, of course, you'll need some form of roofing or iron sheets or things like that, but you can thatch it. I have a house right here on my farm which is thatched, yeah? So if you can get grass around and all those kinds of things, it can work. Now, of course, the question is going to be, you know, things like biosecurity, things like ability to clean. Guys, those are things that don't matter when you don't have money. When you don't have money, it's about making the quickest shortcuts as possible. It's about being as creative and as ingenious as possible. That's it. That's what matters. You're going to have to put in the hard work. So for example, if you're building a mud and water house, your cleaning is going to be much more difficult, but you're going to have to figure out ways of cleaning it, yeah? You're probably not going to cement the floor, so you're going to put maybe, you know, compact maram and things like that. It's certainly much cheaper to do it that way, but it comes with a bit of risk, but yeah, you're going to have to bear that risk. Compact the mud and water and probably put a thicker layer of litter inside your chicken house. That reduces the risk of you getting illnesses from the floor, yeah? So you're going to have to come out creative, you know, come out of your comfort zone, yeah? So look for anyone who can give you any kind of house. That's going to be the biggest work you're ever going to put in. Trust me, guys, yeah? Getting a place, getting a chicken house is going to be the biggest work because that's the most costly thing of everything, yeah? So if you can start out that way, what's going to happen is that later on when you've gotten money coming in and you've, you know, start getting profit, you can then build your own chicken house. Then later maybe you can buy your own land. First you can build your own chicken house on someone's land. then, you know, maybe rent the land, or if someone can just give you a small space to utilize, then later on you can, you know, buy your own land and do that kind of stuff. Personally, like I've told you guys, I was renting my dad's land. Currently, I have almost, you know, 4-5 acres in this area alone. Yeah, so it's 100% possible, 100% possible, and it's not cheap buying land in this area where I do have the poultry farm. Yeah, it's quite expensive, over $10,000 an acre right now. Yeah, so it's not, but I managed to get to this point. Yeah, so you need to make sure that you're focused and put in the hard work at the start. Now, if you've done that and you've managed to identify that, the next thing is honestly the easier bit. Yeah, so what you're going to start with is 50 chickens, nothing more. 50 broiler chickens. That's what you're going to focus on. So you need to get money for 50 broiler chickens and put it aside. Yeah, currently for me in my country, a broiler chicken costs a bit less than $1. So you want to get that money, put it aside. So if it's 50 chickens, it's probably going to cost you maybe $30-40. Yeah, get it, put that money aside. Yeah, so you've got the money for the broilers, you've put it aside. The next thing you're going to have to do is to buy some equipment. Now, if you're going to start with broilers, just 50 of them, 2 drinkers is going to be enough. 1 or 2 drinkers is going to be enough. Yeah, I would suggest 2 drinkers. Then you're going to buy some feeders. You know, these trough feeders that are made out of wood. You know, they're trough feeders. Just buy those. They're really cheap, really cheap. Each one of them costs about 50 cents. Yeah, so buy maybe 2 of them, less than $1. You're going to get them, place them inside your chicken house. After you've done that, the next thing you're going to do is to have money for the feeds. So you need to make sure you have all the money for the feeds. Make sure you don't have part of the money for the feeds. If you don't have all the money for the feeds, what I suggest is that you go and work a little bit more. You know, save that money. You've already gotten your place, save that money, go work a job. Maybe they are paying you $50 a month. Maybe they are paying you $15 a month, maybe $20 a month. Go work. Save up a bit more money until you have enough money to feed 50 birds until completion. Yeah? That's what you're going to do. After you've done that, go outside there and you've gotten that money, bring it and start the chickens. While you're doing all that, you're going to be gathering knowledge, understanding how to raise chickens, how to, you know, do all these things. After you've done that, come and start the farm. Yeah. Now, I've made a lot of videos on my YouTube channel about how to start, how to raise chickens, how to brood, how to manage them during the grower phase, and all these things. So I'm not going to talk about all that in detail right here. If you're someone who is interested in that, again, you can check out a video I've made in the description of this video about how to take care of chickens. It's a great video. It's all inclusive. To be very beautiful. You'll love it. So check it out so that you learn how to manage and raise chickens. Once you've learned how to manage and raise chickens, you need to make sure that as you're looking after the chickens, you're looking for the market. Yeah. Now, if you have only 50 chickens, it's not going to be hard for you to sell chickens, and you're actually most probably going to get the best value, or you know, the most amount of money that you can get. Aim to sell the birds as expensively as possible because you don't have too many. Selling them shouldn't be very difficult for you. Yeah. You can get people who are buying 1 chicken, 2 chickens, 3 chickens, things like that. Move outside there using word of mouth. Tell them about the birds when the birds are just 1 week old, 2 weeks old. Remember, we are keeping broilers, so by about 4-5 weeks, they're going to be ready for the market. Yeah. So just move outside there. You try to get the market, and then by the time the birds are ready for the market, 5 weeks later, you already have the market, and then you sell them off. Once you sell them off, if you get a really good price, your profit is probably going to be between 15 and 20%. Yeah. If you get an okay price, your profit is probably going to be between 10 and 15%. So if you started out with $300, at the end of the cycle, your birds are going to be at $330 or $345 if it's about 15%. Yeah, that's a really good percentage. What that means is that your next cycle of birds in the same structure is now going to be 60 birds, not 50 birds. So there you go. You started with 50 birds, now you're graduating to 60 birds. Can you imagine? In just 4 to 5 weeks, you're graduating to 60 birds. Yeah. Now imagine you reiterated. Now, of course, some of the things you're going to have to take shortcuts. For example, like labor, you need to make sure that you minimize labor. You don't pay labor completely. And how do you do that? You're either working in the chicken house yourself or get relatives to work there. Maybe a brother, maybe a sister, maybe, you know, something like that, you know, a cousin, or, you know, your daughter if you're a parent and you have children. Something like that. That minimizes the expenses for you. Yeah. So anything that you can cut expenses on, cut the expenses. As long as you know, it's not so technical. So don't cut expenses on vaccines, yeah? Don't cut expenses on feed. So make sure that you get the best quality feed that you can get. Now, of course, you can mix the feed yourself. If you mix feed yourself, that doesn't mean it's less quality. If you don't know how to mix the feed, then go for mixed feed, yeah? But if you know how to mix the feed and you can mix the feed yourself, then go that alternative. It doesn't mean it's less quality, it simply means that it's a bit cheaper for you, yeah? So make sure that you cut costs on the things that you can cut costs and avoid cutting costs on things that you can't cut costs. You're not going to get an overall, of course, like me, yeah? Because that's not so relevant for someone who is trying to cut costs. So just have your clothes, which you're going to be using inside the chicken house, and you're like, these are what I'm going to be using inside the chicken house. I'm not going to use anything else inside the chicken house, yeah? So you need to focus as much as possible, focus and do the work really well. If you do that, things are going to be very beautiful for you. You're going to be enjoying everything that you're going to be doing, yeah? So guys, that's how you start a poultry farm with just $200, $300. Imagine what it would be like, you know, 5 years from that point. If with every cycle you're just increasing by 10 birds, you know, next time it will be 20 birds. Next time it will be 50 birds. Before you know it, you've started with 50 chickens. You're going to be doing 1,000 chickens. Can you imagine? Think about it. You're going to be doing 1,000 chickens and you're going to be bringing profit. And then when guys look at you later on and you're telling them, hey guys, I started with 50 chickens, they'll be like, no, that's not possible. I know someone who owns a chain of restaurants and hotels in Uganda. And this guy started with like a chapati stall, like, you know, just selling chapatis. Can you imagine? Now, when people hear those stories, they're like, no, that's not possible. You know, it's not possible. Same exact thing when I tell people that I started with just 800 birds. Now, of course, 800 birds is quite a lot. But when they see where I am right now, and that's how I started, they're like, no way, that's not possible. But it is possible, yeah? So I want to tell you that it's possible. Just focus and do it, and you'll get the results that you expect and the results that you want. You just need to put in the hard work. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Catch you very soon with another video. Lots of love. Bye-bye.